It's time to go beyond Plus Ultra for another Boku no Hero Academia review.
Nope, I got nothing. I'm dying today. I got no clever income or lead in for this episode. I've got nothing. I don't know.
Fair enough, fair enough.
We did get a new intro though.
Right as I was really getting into the other one,
I
I knew that would happen.
think I prefer this. This still isn't my favorite, or at the very least, it hasn't grown on me enough. But it's better than the previous one.
Come and ask me in about 3 or 4 weeks.
It is very dark looking. Like some shit's gone down in that intro.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have our three mains just literally sitting there in the rubbles of a destroyed city.
And from what I was reading after I was watching it, I'm like, this seems to be more than just the Endeavor Agency arc. How long is that arc chapter wise? It's just about, oh, how long was it? 11 chapters long. So, we are definitely going to get part, if not all of the Meta Liberation Army arc in with the Endeavor Agency arc,
Mm-hmm.
which might be interesting because the previous, I think it was called the Joint Training arc, that was about 25-ish chapters stretched between 13, 12, 13 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be, if they're doing both arcs, that's in the mid to upper 30s over the course of like 11 episodes. So we might end in the middle of the Meta Liberation. Either that or they splice it between the Endeavor agencies. So
Maybe like flashbacks, like I had mentioned last time.
yeah, but how could you fit like 25 chapters of flashback into? Oh
You
wait,
still underestimate One Piece. They had an entire arc that was a flashback for a character we didn't even know existed for a while.
oh,
Like he got introduced in like the current arc, and then they spent an entire arc with his flashback in the middle of that arc.
oh.
That's not to say it wasn't good content, it just felt awkwardly placed.
Hmm. Well, no. I think my main question is with the Endeavor Agency arc being like 11 chapters, how would you like be able to balance the like 25-ish episodes of flashback without making it seem like, hey, this is the Meta Liberation Army arc now.
I don't know, that's a question for the director, isn't it?
Yes, which I will be interested to see.
Also, it doesn't help me considering I don't know what the story arc is for either of these, so I can't tell you how they would splice it.
And I'm not too sure if this was spoiled in the Meta Liberation arc, but it seems Slide and Go may be a villain?
Who? Oh, the weird dude that just kind of hovers.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing
Because,
in this episode, at least, that like sets on that. However, we do learn that not all the heroes are exactly pure.
maybe I'm going with more of that because Hawks was talking to Slide and Go and some mysterious guy with a, I think he had a briefcase that he was just like fiddling with.
It was a laptop.
Thank you. And he seemed to be saying, "Hey, I have information on the heroes." So,
More like he was saying that like Slide and Go was kind of being like, look, man, look, Hawks, I've got a higher rank than you here. I'm more important. And then that dude, whoever it is just like, fuck are you talking about? He's the number two. Dude's got way more access to the hero network than any of us.
So, Slide and Go may not be a full hero, quote unquote.
I God, I'm trying because we don't have the liberation arc to really extrapolate what the actual ideology is. We got a brief rundown of like, oh, it's about more or less it's a meritocracy, I want to say. Was what it sounded like.
I'm not too sure what a meritocracy is.
If you earn it, you're better than everyone else.
Ah, okay, okay.
That's essentially what it is. Actually, not here. Let me, just so I can get an idea, what is the actual ideology? Meta Liberation Arc. Let's see here.
Don't spoil yourself too much.
I just want to know what the ideology is. Nope. 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 I don't remember what it was exactly. Let me see. Sorry, I'm like popping through here.
And as I scrolled by the Meta Liberation Army arc just to check the chapter count, I did not know this last week when I jokingly said it's about the villains and maybe called My Villain Academia. Yes, the manga briefly changes names to My Villain Academia.
Oh, are we gonna get a JoJo-esque like tweaked intro for that? Because that would be great.
I'm not too sure since this will be folded, or you're guessing it will be folded into the Endeavor agency arc, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And there seems to be a lot of villains in the opening this time around.
It's true. I mean, it's probably just because we're hitting that like rise up from the villains. All right, let's see here. Okay, I've gotten to the scene where the book is, where like Hawks first introduces the book. Let's see. How does he describe it? It's an old book, but it has predictions about the present. If you give freedom to a limited number of people, then the negative consequences will go to the others. Ah, okay. So not meritocracy so much as it is like if only a limited number of people are free, other people will be like uh 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 not discriminate oppressed. Interesting. Yeah. So it's the idea of like oh yeah, it just the heroes are all free to do whatever they like, or at least those that they see at the top are, and those that are on the bottom that don't have the freedom that others have due to whatever restrictions are in place feel like they're oppressed and thus want to rise up against them.
Hmm.
You could technically look at the current I hate to bring politics into this, but it's a good allegory to be like, hey, look, it's the way that a lot of people kind of look at the rich in our country of like
Oh.
these people are getting a shit ton of money for nothing and the rest of us just don't have it. Like the rest of us are kind of left to live in squalor and desperately grasp at whatever we can get. Meanwhile, 98% of the country's wealth is in like the top 5 trillionaires or billionaires. But yeah, breaking away from that, yeah, it's a good allegory for that kind of an idea, I guess. Um, and comments, rip me apart if I'm wrong, please. I'd actually like to understand this better. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, like getting back to the actual plot of the episode, basically, what is it? Shoto, Deku, and Bakugo all show up to meet up with Endeavor. We had a nice little joke of just a literal waterfall coming out of Deku's apartment because he and his mom are crying.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm not sure if this was a reused animation from previous episodes, but in the one Endeavor flashback, he didn't have the scar on his face.
Which one? Like right in the start? Because there was a couple of there. Because it could have been before he got the scar
Yeah,
in the fight.
it must have been a flashback to a previous episode.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, there was also the point where Deku had a flashback to when he met him in season 2, where he didn't have the scar.
Right, right.
because that was long before the fight that made that happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they meet up with Endeavor. Endeavor's like, fuck you guys. I only really wanted Shoto here. You're just lucky that he asked me to take you in because otherwise I wouldn't. And then he's like, all right, you guys got to follow me and you have to watch from behind because apparently he hears something before like the impact or the shockwave of it even hits. And it's some dude that can control glass.
Which is a weird quirk since he seems to be able to turn glass into a liquid.
Either that or he just straight up makes it malleable.
That too.
What else was there in here? He starts talking about Endeavor being the reason everything's going to fall apart. Like he almost doesn't seem like a villain here. Other than that, it seems like he's trying to take out Endeavor, who he seems to have predicted is the downfall for some reason. Like even like at first, the regular citizens are like, "Oh, it's just that guy again," until he starts like absorbing glass from windows and causing issues there. Like when they first hear his shouts, they just kind of like write him off like it's this doomsday guy again, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this guy was actually a villain to begin with, or if he just had some weird prediction dream thing that caused him to lose his shit.
I am going to have to wait until the end of this to see if telling it out of order was the best choice of action.
Well, we also got like the start before the intro even got kicked in of like Hawks taking out Best Genist, which kind of explains why we had that like missing article that Bakugo was looking at
Mm-hmm.
before. So that had to have taken place prior to like the Christmas party.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like part of the deal Hawks working with Dobby is doing seems to be like, hey, take out someone that's not the number one, essentially. And it almost makes it seem like Best Genist is in like a body bag that Hawks is carrying around and he's going to deliver it to Dobby. Like that seems to be the implication.
And Best Genus is like, number three, right?
He was number three when All Might was still number one. I don't remember how the rankings changed because he was out of commission for a while after that fight
Oh, okay.
with One for All or All for One. I remember that his ranking slid, but I don't remember where he landed. I think he's still in the top five though, because
Hmm.
he was down and out because of injuries in that fight.
Okay.
But yeah, Hawks seems to have made him indisposed. Whether that actually means that, there's a Best Genist in a body bag, or if he like brought him into it and is like, look, this is what's going on. You need to disappear for a while.
Hmm.
Though it seems to be implied with the way he held out like a feather blade that it was more of a violent doing than a non-violent doing.
Yeah, I was like, wait, did Hawks just kill Best Genist?
I don't know if he would have killed him or not. Because the other part would be like, wouldn't, and I don't know if this is possible or not at this point because we don't know enough about the Nomus to say this. But wouldn't they want to steal his quirk maybe to shove it into a Nomu?
Which,
Now, again,
which
I
is,
don't know if they can still do this because All for One is still imprisoned. I don't know if there's a way to still do it without his quirk.
and Best Genus's quick is fabric manipulation?
I believe that's what it was, or at the very minimum, threads.
Okay, okay.
Like it's literally been like 3 seasons at this point. I don't remember exactly what his quirk is. But yeah, then we get to a point of like once they catch Glass Boy, Hawks is trying to get like popped in for a minute and just kind of took out the ads for the fight that were, I guess, going to knock them out, or at least try to knock out Endeavor. We have Bakugo mouthing off to him, being like, "Hey, I was faster than you there for a second."
Yeah.
um, Deku introducing himself to Hawks, and then Hawks trying to give him the book and being like, "Look, you check out the highlighted sections of this; they're really good, especially the second part." And because Endeavor isn't exactly the brightest person in the world, hell, he even I forgot about this. He even hands it out to the others. He hands out a copy to like fucking Deku, Shoto, and Bakugo.
And he's like, I can't tell you directly. Please understand. You should read the highlighted sections.
Yeah, he's like super. This is definitely one of those like tropes where it's basically like, I can't fucking tell you outright. You're fucking dense, so you're probably not gonna get this at minimum right away, if at all. But I'm gonna do my best to get you to get it through your fucking thick skull.
Hmm.
It's one of those tropey situations. What else is there? Eventually, Endeavor does take the book. They go back to his agency. We get to meet what's her name, Vernon. I think
Yes, I
that's the
believe
one
so.
character, the one character we got a name for. I don't think we got the others. I love her green hair. It looks really cool with like the white buttoned up outfit. It looks really nice.
And I know that this is a non traditional superhero story, but when I think of sidekicks, I think of like Batman and Robin, things that like play off each other that are similar to each other. Like Endeavor has over 100 sidekicks.
Yes.
Yeah, so like, do all of them have some flame based ability?
I don't think so. The one guy that we saw in there looked like he had a dinosaur parts.
Yeah, but to me, that's not really a good sidekick to Endeavor.
It's kind of well, Endeavor doesn't even have an actual like a traditional sidekick to begin with.
But I mean, like, one for all's, All Might, his sidekick was Sir Night Eye, and that's not a good, well, like, maybe it is a good pairing in like certain situations, but I think like a sidekick needs to be the hero light, kind of.
See, I disagree. Because let's look at Shoto, for example. Imagine if actually fuck it. Let's look at Endeavor. What if his wife that he hadn't, if he hadn't beaten the shit out of her and been a horrible person, what if they were a team? Ice and fire. It's not the hero light, but it's a combo team.
Fair enough.
Like I disagree fundamentally with the idea of a hero light. Just because that's been what's rammed into our skull as what a sidekick is, I don't believe that that's correct.
Maybe because it's rammed into my skull, I believe it that way.
Because it's the only thing that's been rammed into our skull as Americans is DC Marvel. Actually, how many Marvel characters actually have a sidekick?
I will need to do research.
Arguably, I can only think of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Oh, fuck, what's his name? Iron Man and Warforged, I think his name is.
War Machine?
War Machine, yeah. But I mean, that's not hero light either. That seems more like equals. Like both of those seem more like equals than they do actual like hero light. Like Batman and Robin is the only one that comes to mind that hits that hero light trope that I can think of.
I'm sorry, but like segue here, but now I'm just thinking of, oh, must do research.
Let's do research.
Magic
Oh my god.
must defeat magic.
Oh my fucking god. And nothing falls like literally becomes his trademark phrase, one of his trademark phrases later, like in the rest of the series. That's great. It makes after watching that season, it makes me want to watch the rest.
You both great parties how?
Again, the only magic words he ever says, and they're great.
Kind of like Raven's like Azrath Methion Zinthos.
Mm-hmm. Although she puts more inflection on those words than Uncle does. Uncle just kind of says it the same way every time, like a Gregorian chant almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing back here, but like I can't think other than Batman and Robin a hero light sidekick at all,
I think
unless you want to count Batgirl too. But again, that's literally just the Batman. That's it.
I think Aquaman had Aqua Lad.
There was technically Kid Flash, I guess. But again, I don't know enough to say that they're hero lights other than just experience.
Yeah, I'll maybe come back and talk about this next time.
And the more it sounds like it, the more it's a DC thing than it is a Marvel thing.
Maybe?
But yeah, no, I kind of like the way they have this set up. Like the sidekick isn't the main hero; it's the character that's employed by the hero. You know,
It's like a hero in training, kind of.
I mean, they're all technically pro heroes.
Oh,
They all have the licenses. I would assume they're all pro heroes in their own right. They just don't have the name recognition Endeavor does.
okay.
And much the way that this society seems to be built up, it's basically like, hey, I'm the big man in charge. I'll get my hands dirty, but I can't be everywhere. You're also going to work for me. Which, in a world like this, it makes a lot of sense that you would actually have a setup like that. So while the kids get introduced to the characters that are the sidekicks in Endeavor's agency, Endeavor's sitting at his main desk figuring out the book. And it finally clicks with him after he's like, Hawks' attitude is too radically different from what he used to say before. Like something's not right. And eventually it finally clicks that it's like every second word of these highlighted sections spells out a code to the point that what we learn is that their numbers of this liberation army is over 100,000. We also learn that they have a 4-month time period before they activate, essentially. And from what I'm recalling, there are even heroes that are mixed into this ideology.
Kind of like Slide and Go.
Potentially Slide and Go, potentially Mr. Dark laptop dude that we don't know who it is.
Yeah, for all we know, somebody that we've seen throughout the series might be a villain or part of the liberation.
Well, and that also throws into light the idea of the spy that's at UA. If they have sentiments toward this ideology, they might be willing to work with other people, like more villains in that regard.
Hmm. So, this seems like it might be pretty interesting.
I'm curious, 'cause it seems like we get to see some more action in the next episode too,
Yeah.
which unfortunately is not next week. It is the week later
Yep.
because it skips next week.
Uh, I haven't heard anything about them taking a week off for the Olympics.
Shit, that's right. They're still trying to do that.
Yeah, which is at the end of July.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah,
I'm honestly still surprised they're going through with it, considering Japan is not in a situation where it should be doing this at all.
unfortunately.
Yeah, they do not have vaccines. And I know this from a guy that I listen to on a podcast who lives in Japan. He has outright said there is literally no vaccines here. I get that it's a big economic boost, but considering that the pandemic is still going on in most of the world, hell, even here it's barely starting to come undone, like the restrictions. It's still kind of mind-boggling that they're trying to do this when people are not going to show up. Uh, Either way, I hope it works out for them, but I also hope it doesn't turn into something far worse.
Yeah, so, uh, we'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode review.
2 weeks.
Yep, so catch everybody then.
Bye.